All right, let's talk NFTs. You've definitely heard the buzz, you've seen the crazy headlines, and you've probably been a little confused by it all. But what are they really? For the next few minutes, we're going to cut through all that noise. I'm going to give you a straight-up guide to what they are, how they actually work, and how you might be able to get involved. Let's do this.
So here's our game plan. We're going to start with the big idea, this thing called the ownership economy, to understand why NFTs even matter. Then we'll get into what a non-fungible token actually is. After that, it's all practical stuff. Your first steps, the different ways you can earn, and a very real look at the profits and losses. And we'll wrap up with a toolkit you can use to get started.
So first things first, why should you even care about any of this? Well, it comes down to this really fundamental change in how the internet is starting to work. It's a move towards something people are calling the ownership economy.
For the last 20 years or so, we've all been living in the attention economy. Think about it. You create amazing content, you post it on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, but you don't really own your presence there. You're kind of just renting space from these huge companies. The ownership economy, which is powered by things like NFTs, completely flips that around. It's about letting you, the creator, the user, truly own your own little piece of the internet.
Okay, so that brings us to the technology itself. Non-fungible token. I know, it sounds ridiculously complicated, but trust me, the core idea is way simpler than it sounds. Let's just break it down. Now, this is the most important part to get right. An NFT is not the image or the song itself. It is the digital certificate of ownership for that thing. And that certificate is recorded on a blockchain, which you can just think of as a giant global public receipt book that anyone can see. This makes that ownership totally verifiable and completely unique. You can't just right-click save it. Its authenticity is baked right in.
And to really understand non-fungible, this is the best analogy. A dollar bill is fungible. If you and I trade $1 bills, we both still have a dollar. They're totally interchangeable. Same with Bitcoin. But an NFT is non-fungible, just like a signed original painting. There's only one. Sure, you can take a photo of the Mona Lisa, but you don't own the real thing. That's the difference. Okay, so the concept is starting to click. Now for the fun part. How do you actually step into this world? Let's walk through an actual plan. Getting started really just boils down to 4 steps. First, you need what's called a Web3 wallet, like MetaMask. Think of it as your digital backpack and your passport for this new part of the web. Second, you'll need to fund it with some cryptocurrency, usually Ethereum or Solana. Third, you've got to decide on your strategy. What role do you want to play? And fourth, and I cannot stress this enough, you absolutely have to do your own research before you spend a single dollar.
So let's dive a little deeper into that third step, choosing your path. Because in the NFT space, there are really 3 main roles you can take on to get involved and, potentially earn something.
You can be the creator, the collector, or flipper, or the gamer. Each path is pretty different, so let's take a quick look at what each one is all about.
For any kind of artist, musician, or writer, this is honestly a revolution. You can turn your digital work into an NFT and sell it straight to your community around the world. But here's the real magic. You can code a royalty into the NFT, which means every single time it gets resold on the secondary market, you automatically get a percentage. Forever. That's passive income.
Now, the collector path, or as many call it flipping, is a lot more like being a trader or an art speculator. The whole game is to find new projects that you think have potential, buy their NFTs early when the price is low, and then sell them later for a profit when demand goes up. It is absolutely high risk, high reward, and it requires tons of research.
And finally, there's the gamer. In most games you play today, you might spend hundreds of hours and dollars on cool items and characters that you never actually own. The game company owns them. Well, in these play-to-earn blockchain games, that awesome sword you found or that character you leveled up is an NFT that you personally own, and you can take it to an open marketplace and sell it to another player for real money.
Okay, it's time to talk about the money. It is so easy to see these headlines about multi-million-dollar sales and get carried away. But what's a realistic expectation if you're just getting started?
For the flippers who manage to get into a good project's presale, this is often the target. They buy in early, and they're hoping to sell for anywhere from 2 to 10 times what they paid right after the public launch. It's a very fast-paced, high-stakes game.
And here is the giant reality check. For every single project that does a 10x return, there are so many more that fail completely and go to zero. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme. The market is wild and volatile, and if you don't do your homework, you can very, very easily lose your entire investment. Now, flipping isn't the only way to earn. Some really dedicated gamers in certain games can actually earn a daily income. And there's another popular strategy called staking, where you lock up your NFT to help support a project, and they reward you with passive income, often with an annual percentage yield somewhere between 10 and 50%.
If you only remember one single thing from this entire explainer, please let it be this. You have to look past the hype. Ask yourself the hard questions. Does this NFT have real utility? Like, does it give me access to something or provide a service? Is there a real, strong, passionate community behind it? And does the team have a clear vision for the future? Those are the signs of a project that might actually stick around. Okay, to bring it all home, I want to leave you with the actual tools you'll need to go explore this space yourself, but to do it safely and intelligently.
Think of this table as your starter kit. If you want to create NFTs, check out platforms like OpenSea. For buying and selling, you'll want to be on marketplaces like Blur or Magic Eden. For security, and this is so important, if you have valuable assets, you need a hardware wallet like a ledger, which keeps your private keys completely offline and safe from hackers. And for all that research I keep mentioning, analytics tools like Dune and Nansen give you the raw data to make smart decisions.
So we've covered it all. The big vision of an ownership economy, the practical steps to get started, and the high-risk, high-reward reality of it all. This technology, at its core, makes true digital ownership possible in a way it never was before. So the huge question that's left is this. Is this the foundation for the future of the internet, or is it just a massive, fascinating speculative bubble? The truth is, the answer is still being written.